What's good, y'all? What's good, y'all? What's good, y'all? Welcome. Hawks Hoops Live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We got live literally every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find me here. It's the number one stop shop for just a really fun NBA related stream. From current events to trades to off-season stuff to probably during the regular season, we might actually do some watch night type stuff where we watching the games on stream. Maybe not the game itself won't be on the stream. I'm not trying to get my whole channel shut down by the NBA, but I might be watching the game and responding to the chat and stuff during the regular season. The boy Bartholomew, you changed your name. What was your name before? Coop, what's good, man? Lucas and Coop, what's up? So yeah, welcome to Hawks Hoops. We got a lot to talk about. Candy to go 23. Oh, okay. Connie Lewis now. All right, y'all keep changing y'all usernames on me, throwing me off, but I appreciate you for pulling up either way. So we got a lot to talk about today. As you can see, the title of today's stream, we are going to be grading off seasons today. We got a tier list. We're gonna do a little tier list action. I really enjoyed the tier list we did a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was a lot of fun. The chat seemed to enjoy it as well. So we will be doing another tier list. I'm going to be trying something new on stream that I'm going to try to be implementing in future streams too. I'm going to be pulling some Q&As from the Discord. I'll be pulling some Q&As that have already been in Discord, like text, but then also probably be opening up a chat channel. And maybe pull one or two people up throughout the show to drop a little hot take, drop a little question, to have a quick, brief conversation. Just kind of mix it up to add more elements to the stream. My brain is always coming up with new ways to do things. Some of the ideas are really good and you guys rock with them. Some of the ideas, they don't really pan out the way I thought they would. But I figured I'd give it a shot. We'll see what happens today on stream. How you guys doing today, though? How's your week been? Hopefully it's been good. If you are back to school, hopefully that's going well. I didn't even realize my boy had hit me. Somebody hit me in the Discord today, was back in the school, and it was like July still. And I was like, I didn't even know school started in July, let alone like back and actually doing stuff. Our schools don't start till September, so it is what it is on that front. Oh, so yeah, people are starting school in August. That's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy if that's where you're from and that's what you're used to. That's where you're from and what you're used to. I'm just not used to it because we start in September. We've always started in September. What's good, Ninja? How you doing? All right, so a couple of things we're gonna get to before we get all the way into the what's I'm looking for? Get into the tier list before we get into the actual grades. A couple of just around the league news I wanted to get into off the top because I thought it was pretty interesting. First things first, we got to do a little, I'm actually going to slide this down. We got to do a little RIP. RIP for, not like a real RIP. Thankfully, nobody's actually gone. RIP for the Kings Old Arena. Rudy Gay on the Discord just sent this to me. I think Rudy Gay on the Discord sent this, and I was like, dang, man, that's crazy. The early 2000s Kings was there. I want to say the beginning of the Marcus Cousins career was here as well, and they're tearing it down. It's been there for a long time. I just wanted to, RIP to the old Kings Arena. They got actually a really nice new arena now, and I mean, this is going to turn into a part of, I just looked it up, some college is taking this over and they're building a medical school here. So RIP to the old Kings Arena. Low Gaming, what's good, man? Thanks for pulling up to the stream. So in the spirit of, I've been kind of sort of fiending for some basketball to watch, and since I didn't watch a lot of Summer League, I said, let me go out of my way a little bit and try to watch some of these Pro-Am runs. Now, we've seen a lot of the Pro-Am runs. We've seen a lot of the clips that have been going around lately, and I just want to go over a couple. The first one I saw, the first clip I saw was one of the Rico Haynes runs. Let me see if I can pull it up. And I mean, I didn't realize how many Raptors players. Hey, you listening while hooping? That's what's up. That's what's up for real. You a real one. I didn't realize how many Raptors players. Yes, Rio. That's on the list too. Kuz got 67. We're gonna talk about that in a second. Matter of fact, since you brought it up, we're gonna talk about this one first. This is why I don't take too much, and I'm going to sound like a hater, and I don't want to sound like a hater, but this is why I don't take too much stock into these summer pro-am runs, because Kyle Kuzma just dropped 67. 67 from Kyle Kuzma. Now, it makes sense. He is an NBA player. If you make it to the NBA, especially if you're a starter in the NBA, you're one of the top probably 100 guys in the world if you're a starter in the NBA. So Kuzma, in the grand scheme of things, is an elite basketball player. But this is also why I take every summer run. I don't care where it's at. Like this one was in this was a Utah Pro-Am Powder League. Like I've never heard of the Powder League, to keep it a bean. Like I've only really heard of the Drew League. I've heard of the Crossover. Those are the two main ones I hear the most. So I don't know how good or bad the competition is at this Powder League that's in Utah. But then again, at the same time, this is why you got to take it with a grain of salt. But shout out to Kuz. He got his 67. He looked good. Like these highlights look smooth. The camera work is also smooth, just me being a camera nerd. Couple of nice little turnarounds, couple of pull-up jumpers, attacking the basketball, finishing at the rim. I mean, things I expect Kyle Kuzma to be able to do when playing against non-NBA players. But these are still, to an extent, high-level athletes. Lucas, you trolling? Hold on. Lucas is saying KD got traded in the chat like it actually just happened. But I don't got no notification from nobody, so I feel like you're trolling me. You could do it. Look, you gonna change the direction of the whole stream if KD actually gets traded. You see my reaction, right? I had to pull my phone up. It's all good. But yeah, so Pro-Am is happening. Pro-Am is the thing. Shout out to Kuz. 67 is dope. I don't know how many other NBA guys have, like, I'd love to see what other NBA guys' career highs are in the Pro-Am circuit. In other news, another situation I saw. So like I was saying earlier, before Rio, dropped the 67 from Kuz. At Rico Hines, it's he's the coach he's one of the assistants for the Raptors. And he hosts, I want to say he's one of the assistants for the Raptors currently. He hosts, and he's been hosting them for years, these Pro-Am runs in the UCLA gym. NBA players from all over come. Raptors players particularly typically come because he's a part of the coaching staff. But this past year, it felt like the full Raptors starting five was there. I saw Siakam, I saw OG, I saw Scotty, I want to say I saw Gary Trent there, one of them as well. And then I saw this, and I thought to myself, oh boy, this might be a long season. This might be a long season for us Sixers fans. This upset me. I'm not gonna cap. This upset me. Scotty low-key had my man James Harden in prison. Now there are other highlights of James Harden was, actually scoring on Scotty from time to time. James Harden was getting buckets. But this was some amazing defense. Because look, like, even in that moment right there, right? Look, even in this, I didn't mean to do that. Even in this moment right here, I don't want the audio. In this moment right here, James Harden almost gets by Scotty. And then where does he go? Look, Pascal's right there. And that immediately made me think, hey, yo, these Raptors, what they've built defensively is absolutely insane. To have Scotty to be able to be your point of attack guy, and then maybe like OG to his right and Pascal to his left, or even Fred's the point of attack guy, and Pascal's to his left and Scotty's to his right. What the Raptors built defensively is absolutely insane. Just that much defense and ranginess is crazy. Is it too much to think about? No, like I'm still high on James Harden. As we'd already know, I'm a Sixers fan, yada, yada. That was a bad miss. I ain't gonna hold you. I haven't seen everything from that. That was a really bad miss. That was really clamps. Now, mind you, in the grand scheme of things, I feel like in the real world, I would hope Harden would pass out of that. Woo. But I just thought I thought it was interesting because mainly the main takeaway I got from that was how good the Raptors defense is going to be this year. I'm very curious to see what their interior is going to look like, considering they don't necessarily have a center. But and Ninja, that's fine. Yeah, I know. When you will agree with me, I've been saying this. Me and Hawk have very different minds on the Sixers. We do have different minds on the Sixers. I get your thought process. I get your, what's the word I'm looking for? Apprehension on the Sixers, on our Sixers, I guess I should say. I'm just a hopeful guy. And I think as you watch more and more of my content, you will realize that for the most part, I am just a hopeful guy. All right, moving on. Oh, we do have one more thing from Pro-Am stuff that I want to talk about. Jamal Murray not Jamal Murray. Shout out to Jamal Murray. DeJounte Murray is doing the most. He's doing too much for me. So if you follow me on the Hawks, exactly. If you follow me on IG, shameless plug, I post a lot of like Instagram content that I've been watching throughout, like NBA content that I've been watching throughout the day in my IG stories. If I might not make an actual video, I might not talk about it, or I might wait until we get on stream and I'll talk about it. But a lot of times my initial reactions is in my IG story. So if you want my initial reactions and stuff, follow me on IG. I also respond to people on Instagram more frequently than I respond on almost any other app because it's the smallest app I have outside of Discord. Lucas, what are you doing? Why am I seeing a bunch of snakes in the chat? What is going on? What are you doing here? And they all say message redacted. Chill out. What's going on here? So yes, Jamal Murray is a menace. Let's just get into these clips. This is the first one I saw. For those of you who maybe didn't see these clips, this is the first one I saw. Well, this is actually from a couple of days ago. This isn't the first one I saw, but this is from a couple of days ago. He's playing defense. Dude goes up, misses a layup. Why does Jamal get the rebound and hit him in the head with the ball? Why does DeJounte do that? Like, that makes absolutely no sense for that, to do that. And then I saw this one from Bleacher Report. This was the actual first clip I saw from Bleacher Report. This was wild disrespectful, to me at least. Like, I feel like you do this anywhere else, y'all fighting mid-court. Like, the court is being cleared and now we're fighting. Because that's wild. That's dumb wild. Did he make that, though? Nah, he missed. Foul. Like, this is wild. What is the point of this? And some people might say, oh, they just hooping, it get a little chippy, yada, yada, yada. Life is good. What's up? Thanks for pulling up to the stream. I know I keep saying Jamal Murray. It keeps slipping. But then DeJounte took it a step further. And a couple of days ago, I see this clip, him and Paolo going at it. The move was beautiful, by the way. This isn't the clip I want. I want this clip. That's also my point, Les. These dudes that show up to these Pro-Am runs, now granted, some of them, pretty much all of them, play some level of professional basketball. Whether that be overseas, or basically overseas or a foreign league. A lot of these guys do play some form of professional basketball. So it's not like they're bums off the street at your neighborhood local park. Hey, Lucas. I can't read the chat if you spamming emojis. I can't read the chat. I'm just gonna put you on timeout for a little bit. I don't know how long timeout is, but you got going timeout. You're doing too much for me. I can't read chat if all I'm seeing is emojis. Anyway, yes, these dudes basically work 9-to-5 jobs, but I then see this clip. This is DeJounte Murray going against Paolo Banchero. I always low-key mess up his name. I need to get better at it because I think he's going to be good, and I'm probably going to be saying his name a lot this upcoming season. Okay, so Mario, you can see his Jordans too. It was flooding y'all chat too. I couldn't tell if it was flooding my chat or his or just my chat or y'all chat too, because it kept also saying message redacted. So I was like, I was mad confused, but it was killing me. I had to get him up out of here. So DeJounte Murray and Paolo Banchero was going at it. Now the move is smooth. The move he pulled off was smooth. It's just all this extra stuff I have an issue with. You know what I mean? Gets past his first defender. Fake, off the glass, nice dunk. Now, right there, the move was smooth. Even the walking right up to him is smooth. I just thought the throwing of the ball was a little bit extra. Like the dunk and then standing chest to chest, that happens all the time in the NBA. I mean, you get hyped after a dunk like this. And then I thought the ball throw was a little extra. Because technically in the NBA, there'd probably be a tech. My biggest thing with Jamal Murray is this, right? Because I've seen a bunch of different people talking about it, have a bunch of different opinions. Matt, a bunch of people, like a lot of people saying like, oh, yo, it's just hoop. Like, that's just, you know what I mean? You don't understand, you don't hoop. You don't understand, you don't hoop. I've seen a lot of that. If that's your take on it, that it is what it is, whatever. I think it's mad disrespectful and mad extra, especially against the non-NBA guys when he banging the ball against their head. Like, that's wild. That's not hooping, that's fighting. But my biggest thing is, I've already said and explained how skeptical I am about the whole Atlanta Hawks situation and how I don't know how well DeJounte Murray and Trae Young will work out. But if you go on and being all crazy and being all extra in these summer runs and it's going viral, basically 2 months before the season starts, you got to hoop this year. If you don't hoop this year and you was just basically picking on people who play 9 to 5, that's real clown behavior. You better hoop this year. Exactly, real. They're both in the East, so it's gonna be fun to see the reaction. Yeah, they go. The Magic and the Hawks gonna play at least, what do the teams play each other in the same division? 4 times or same conference 4 times? So we gonna see them play each other. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how Paolo bounces back from this. If Paolo has any extra energy coming into that game because of what happened this past summer. Yeah, both Southeast division as well. So they're gonna see each other for sure. Little game, you can't go around throwing the ball at someone's head, especially if the man who got to wake up at 7 a.m. the next morning. Exactly. All right. Before we move on to... Oh, that's perfect timing. Before we move on to the actual tier list itself, like I did say, I had a couple of takes I wanted to go into and get into from the Discord. This is how you shamelessly plug the Discord. You know what I mean? This is marketing 101. But we do have some stuff I'm going to pull from the Discord. Some of these are from today, some of these are from the past couple of days. And even while we're doing a tier list, I'm going to grab a couple. These are just ones that I thought were interesting and I half wanted to talk about because I had some ideas or some thoughts on them. Max Gilo 23 asks, basically he asked everybody in the Discord. He said, where do you rank Ja Morant in terms of best player in the league? He'd say top 10, if not top 13. The interesting thing about Ja Morant, the interesting thing about last year in general, we had so many injuries that I think last year's top 10 was probably, it was a lot of new faces in a lot of people's top 10s. I think last year, Ja was definitely in my top 10. Ja might have been low-key top 5 last year. Coming up this year, if I was projecting, I don't project him to be top 10. Unless he really surprises me and steps up and does a lot more. And what I think that a lot more would be in terms of Ja Morant's world would be defensively, on the defensive side of the ball, becoming a slightly better defender. But when you got guys like Kawhi coming back, you got guys like Paul George coming back, you got what should be Anthony Davis playing a full season. You have Dame coming back. I was like, I know I was missing another big name. Dame coming back, who was out all season basically due to injury. So you got at least 3, potentially 4 guys who are typically in a lot of people's top 10s who weren't last year strictly because of their injury. So was Ja Morant top 10 last year? Yes. Will Ja Morant be top 10 again this year? I don't know. Oh, Lucas is a coop. Your cousin was spamming. I was trying to delete them. That's why I was confused, because they was there, then it was gone. They was there, then it was gone. It's all good. I figured something had to be going up because you've been in the chat before and ain't done that. So I knew something was wrong, but I had to just put you in timeout because I couldn't even read the chat. It was going crazy. Hey, real GZ, thanks for pulling up to the stream. You actually made it for once. But yeah, we gonna be here for a little while. You pulled up right just in time. This is a new name in the Discord. Unfortunately, they don't actually have a name. They have the Grease Flag. Facts, Mario. I forgot about that too. If Zion comes back, y'all can hate me for this, but I got Zion over Ja. I'm real high on Zion. This past year, like I said, now that's up to 5 people who were out and injured who probably I would at least rank higher than Ja. They might not make top 10, but all the guys I'd mentioned, I'd probably rank higher than Ja. Only if would be Anthony Davis, and that's only because he might get injured again. If he's healthy, I'm picking him over Ja as well. Is it Giannis undercover? That's funny. It could be. I don't know. But like I was saying, yeah. Peach emoji, Grease Flag asks, how do you think Wiseman will help the Warriors out next season? I have high hopes for him. James Wiseman is an interesting choice for me. And as I say this, I'm going to pull up the tier list and we'll get started into the rankings. James Wiseman is an interesting one for me because while on paper, I think he fits. I think he fits the Warriors situation a lot. I think he's really versatile. I think he has the opportunity and the ability to shoot a little bit. I think he can be a really good defender, but the ability to move more than Kevon Looney can on the offensive side of the ball and be real versatile defensively, being able to at least hedge and help better on pick and roll defense. The biggest thing for him is he's only 20 years old. That's really young for centers. You can call it an excuse for big men, but I'm under the belief that centers developed a lot more slowly than guards do in the NBA. I think partially because it is a guard league, so it's easier for guards to develop when most schemes are built, offensive and defensive schemes are built around guards. A lot of the rules are built to make it easier for guards. So I'm not mad. No, excuse me, that's not the word I'm gonna go for. I like Wiseman. I think he will be a big part of this upcoming Warriors, a good part of this upcoming Warriors season. I think he can provide them some really good depth. But we're gonna go ahead and hop into it. Let me see what y'all talking about real quick before we move on and get into some of these actual grades. Lucas says, I just went back to school and rated my classmates' shoes. I was rocking Kyrie's, but mostly saw white Air Forces. White Air Forces took over y'all generation by storm. I thought my generation liked white Air Forces, and for a little bit it was dying down, but they came back strong. Real GZ says Wiseman will have a monster year average, 29 and 4, 1.8 blocks is healthy. That's my hot takes. That is a very, very hot take. He could be bigger than David Lee. Yeah, because David Lee was solid with the Warriors when they was on their first come up, like that 2014, 2015 timeline. David Lee was big for them. That's facts. How many centers you see as second-year All-Stars? How many centers you see? Oh, Zion needs to lose weight. Is that talking about Zion? How many centers you see as second-year All-Stars? Or are you saying, do I see Wiseman being a second-year All-Star? I'm not gonna hold you. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by your wording. I think the Blazers looking scary. I don't know if I'd say scary, but well, all right, we'll get into it. We're gonna do. I didn't do today's Pirtle yet. Nah, Reels. We could probably do it at the end of the stream. If you're talking about second year guys, second year centers, do I see any of them making an all-star team? Is Wiseman considered a second year center? Or is he a third year center? Well, last year was not his rookie year. No, I don't necessarily see any second year centers making an all-star team to keep it a bean, just off the top of my head. And no, I didn't do today's Pirtle yet. All right, let's get into this. So I put together this tier list. Oh, it didn't save it properly? That's annoying. All right. Give me half a second while I fix this. A, B, Gary Payton Jr. Gary Payton. We're gonna talk about the Blazers. I got some thoughts on them. I'll share them right now since I gotta distract myself while I do fix my tier list. I like what the Blazers did. And I think they probably will be decent. I don't necessarily would call them dangerous. I think what they redid is built a slightly better version than what they had when they had Dame and CJ. You swap out Anthony Simons for CJ. You swap it. I think their biggest upgrade is Jeremy Grant. I do agree there. I think for a long time they've needed a better wing that's versatile, that can play defense and kind of sort of create his own shot. I think their best wings they've had in recent history might have been when they had Aminu, and that wasn't really amazing, but his defense was what they needed, considering Dame and CJ weren't great defenders, still aren't really. I think Jeremy Grant can provide some of that perimeter defense, but with some much improved offense over, the years when they had Al-Farouq Aminu. Do I think the Cavs are a second round team? No. That's tough because I like the Cavs, but no. All right, let's all right, one last thing. I'm just got to switch these colors of this. I don't really be feeling old until I go to do like something on Discord or go to do something for the stream that I see countless other people be doing all the time. But when it comes to these tier lists, they make me feel old because I feel like I set this up properly, but clearly I didn't. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So we have, as you can see right here, honestly, I think I could even put this in presentation mode thing. Does that look better? Oh, that looks way better. So I put together this tier list. We're grading off-season moves. And for some context of how I'm looking at these for some of these teams, we're grading these off-season moves of not necessarily if you went from an okay team to a contender or you went from a bad team to a playoff team. Like, if you just did probably what I think is the best you can do, you're going to end up with a good grade. If you didn't do some smart moves or didn't agree with your moves, you might get a worse grade. But there are some teams who you'll probably see get a high-ish grade, like a B, maybe even an A, but they might not necessarily be better than they were last year, but it put them in the right position to have a direction. I'll tell you what that example is when we get there, but there are a couple of teams who I think got better but didn't get better. Made the right moves, I'll say, but maybe not got better on the basketball court. All right. Oh, but Lucas, I will say this, talking about the Blazers, and maybe that's where we'll place first. We'll start in the Western Conference, and I'll place the Blazers first since we're talking about them. And you'll see me looking and reading a little bit because I got some notes to the side. The Portland Trail Blazers, actually, I don't know if I want to start with them. I do think Dame will have a all-NBA season. I'm calling it. Dame's on a mission. Dame has a chip on his shoulder right now. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Dame. I think a lot of people are counting Dame out. I think a lot of people are looking at how he performed at the beginning of this season, not realizing he probably should not have been playing anyway due to his abdominal injury, and are taking those numbers he put up at the beginning of the season, the way he played at the beginning of this past season, as the version of Dame we're going to see going into this next year. I promise you, that's not who we're going to see. We're going to see a scary Dame. We're going to see a scary Dame. What's good, Sway? Thanks for joining the stream. All right, let's get into it. So the first team I want to do actually is the Dallas Mavericks. So the Mavericks for me, it's tough. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna put them in the C. The Mavericks for me get a C. I think the signing of the trading for Christian Wood was huge. I think he's going to be a really good fit for this team. I know a lot of Houston Rockets fans were telling me I'm too high on Christian Wood. I've explained this before. He didn't necessarily have a playmaking point guard. Now he has that in Luka, and he wasn't in a winning situation and winning atmosphere. Now he has that in the Dallas Mavericks. Now they would have been higher if that's all they did, but the fact that they lost Jalen Brunson is going to hurt them a lot. I think they're really going to miss him. I'm putting him at the C because I don't really think it's their fault that they lost him. I think it's going to be a big miss, and I think they are going to really miss him, but I don't think it's their fault. And what I mean by that is the way, and based on what I've read and heard, between the fact that Jalen Brunson's family, his legit family, has connections with the New York Knicks, like one of the, I can't remember if he's either on the coaching staff or in the front office, but the dude's basically his Godfather. He's from New York. He's from the area. He loves the Knicks. It was almost like a no-brainer. And yes, Brunson got a bag that, in reality, I think the Mavericks probably could have paid him. But like I'm saying, the New York deal was almost a done deal, which, if I'm being real, I had written down B/C. I'm actually gonna move into the B because I really do like the Christian Wood acquisition. And I'm not gonna knock them too bad for losing Jalen Brunson. And I love the fact that they picked up JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee was great for the Suns last year. I thought throughout the playoffs that the Mavericks needed better centers, and I think they got that in JaVale McGee and Christian Wood. They have to figure out lineups, because now you got JaVale McGee, you got Maxi Kleber, you got Christian Wood, but I'd rather have too many options than not enough viable options. Thunder Productions, what's good? Thanks for pulling up to the stream. We're going to talk about his impact on the Knicks. Mavs messed up by keeping him, but Jalen can't help the... We're going to talk about him, yeah, Rio, and the Knicks situation. Does he make the Knicks that much better? No, but I kind of still like the move. And I will agree, their guard play is going to hurt, but we're going to see what happens with Dennis Smith Jr. over there. We're going to see what happens with Spencer Dinwiddie to see if he can make up some... They have backup guards who can try to make up what Jalen Brunson brought to the table. Is it going to be easy? No, but I do like the acquisition of the bigs that they got. Going to the Denver Nuggets next. Actually, no. So Denver Nuggets traded away their backup point guard, Monte Morris. They added Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They picked up Bruce Brown. Both of those guys, I think, is going to be solid for them because of some 3-and-D action, which I think they needed some upgraded perimeter defense. KCP and Bruce Brown can shoot the ball kind of consistently. They will miss Monte Morris though. That's not lost on me. And to me, they made one of the worst offseason signings in signing DeAndre Jordan. That signing made absolutely no sense to me. It honestly, to me, feels like an absolute waste of money. DeAndre Jordan should not be on an NBA team at all. I would have loved if they got either Christian Wood or JaVale McGee, but both those guys went to Dallas. I'm actually going to slide Dallas back down to the C tier where I had them initially, and I'm going to add Denver to the C tier as well. I like KCP. I like Bruce Brown, but I really do think they're going to miss Monte Morris a lot because now I can't think off the top of my head who's going to be their backup point guard now. And DeAndre Jordan is probably actually low-key going to get some minutes for them, and I think that's absolutely disgusting. Next up, we're going to do the Golden State Warriors. So Golden State lost Gary Payton. They lost Gary Payton and Otto Porter Jr. Understandable losses for sure. They can't pay everybody. We've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks. They have the problem of so much talent that all needs to be paid. Gary Payton and Otto Porter, low-key got some nice contracts. Money that the Warriors just cannot afford to give them, considering they have to pay in the future. Somehow Draymond, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins. We've talked about this before. But they did bring in Dante DiVincenzo. They brought in JaMychal Green. To be honest with you, would I rather have Gary Payton or Dante DiVincenzo? I'd rather have Gary Payton. Would I rather have Otto Porter Jr. or JaMychal Green? I might rather have Otto Porter. I think both of those guys are just a little more versatile. But they did do their best to maybe replace some of that production. The Warriors are banking on their young guys continue to get better. Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Wiseman. That's what they're banking on. So they didn't do a lot in the offseason. For that, I'll give them a C. Since we're talking about the Warriors, excellent question. Lil Gamer says, do you think the Warriors are going back-to-back? I say no. A bunch of players was hurt that are coming back. The West is tough. The West is tough. Do I have them as guaranteed locks as necessarily going back-to-back? Probably not, but they're definitely what I would consider legit contenders. We'll probably do another tier list on if I think teams are contenders or where I predict they'll finish in this upcoming season. That might be fun. Next up on the list, we're going to go Houston Rockets. Now, I'll admit, Houston Rockets is not a team that I watched a ton of this upcoming season. I watched a little bit of them in the beginning of the season, and then I was like, okay, there's going to be some young guys running around having a good time. They're not going to win a lot of games. I'm checking out on the Rockets. All that being said, I still am iffy on them. I like the picking up Jabari Smith Jr. in the draft. I think he's going to be a nice fit for them. I think they're going to be a fun young team to watch. I really wish they'd added a point guard to this roster, though. I still am not sold on their guard situations. I just think the guards that they have, I think Green's a great scoring guard. I don't think he's like a distributing, playmaking point guard. I would love to see him play alongside, and I don't know who that is in terms of finding somebody young who's on their timeline who can also play make. But for them, they made the right decision in terms of what they feel is the right decision with the draft. They didn't do much else other than getting rid of Wall, getting rid of Christian Wood, freed up some cap space with their books, got rid of some what I would consider turmoil surrounding that team. Christian Wood, John Wall were two guys who, from what I would hear from Rockets fans, Christian Wood was, I don't want to say a locker room cancer, but a guy who they didn't want anymore. And we knew John Wall was just kind of being there. So getting those two guys off your books is solid, not enough to get you above the C tier though. That's what I was looking for. Why not put Kevin Porter Jr. at the point guard? He's not to me, he's a scoring guard. He just doesn't feel like a playmaker. And I think that team would benefit from some playmaking. Very similar. So I'll give you a perfect example. The reason I want that team to get some playmaking is the same reason I wanted the Boston Celtics to get playmaking at the beginning of the season. We knew in the beginning of the season when the Boston Celtics were looking iffy, hovering around a little bit under 500, we knew the talent was there. We knew Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were nice. But even back then, I was saying they need playmakers to get some shots for some of those other shooters on the floor. And that's kind of how I'm looking at the Houston Rockets right now. The two guards they have are bucket getters. They're guys who can create their own shot and get buckets on their own. But the rest of that team isn't really going to create their own shots or isn't going to even be able to get open looks that much because they don't have playmakers who can set up other guys. That's kind of, I'm thank you for bringing KPJ up because his name was slipping on my mind. I ain't gonna hold you. That's why I kept saying the two guards. But that's why I want them to find a playmaker, because I think a playmaker would unlock a lot of that offense that they have. That team has a lot of great offensive potential. A playmaking point guard would really help that out. Or even do a playmaking like big small forward if you really want those guys to stay in the guard positions. Get a Draymond role on that team. Like get somebody who can play make. That's all. Ninja, we'll talk about that when we get to our Sixers. Spoiler alert, I do not want Kevin Durant in Philadelphia, but we'll talk about it in a little more in depth. The Los Angeles Clippers. I've gone on record, I'm high on the Clippers. Clippers' biggest thing this offseason was bringing in John Wall, which I thought was a really good pickup. But yeah, I think that's the main thing I wrote down. Yeah, bringing in John Wall was huge for them, but the biggest thing for them is health, and health has nothing to do with offseason moves and offseason acquisitions. But I think John Wall could be really good for them, even if it's just the playmaking, similar to what we talked about with the Rockets. I don't need John Wall to come in there and try to get 20. I want John Wall to come in there and maybe try to get 12 to 15. That's like it. But I want him to be a great playmaker, and I think he can be that. Call me being a little optimistic, but I'm going to put the Clippers in the B tier solely for the acquisition of John Wall, because for the longest time, I thought they needed to upgrade at the point guard position. And having John Wall, having Reggie Jackson, and having, who came up? Terrence Mann still. Even if John Wall doesn't pan out to be a guy who's going to play every game, all the time, all the minutes, whatever, Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann are still solid backups. You did say that the other day you think the Clips are going all the way. I'm not mad at the take. I'm high on the Clippers, but health is going to be their biggest thing. Lucas, great question. How do I think Jabari Smith is going to do? Y'all got a lot of questions about this Houston Rockets team. I like it. I'm gonna have to pay attention to the Rockets more this season. I'll be honest, I'm not that knowledgeable on him. As y'all know, I'm not a college guy. I learn about the rookies as they play in the NBA in the first couple of months. But what from I do know about him, what from I have, read from other articles and analysts and, what their opinions is and kind of formulate my own from there. I'm looking forward to seeing some of his defensive versatility. That's what a lot of people are talking about. And I've seen some flashes of some offensive versatility as well to be able to put the ball on the ground a little bit of a shot in the midi range. I don't know if his shot's all the way out to the 3, but I think he could bring some potential defense to the team based on what I've seen in some summer league highlights and stuff like that. We just finished the Clippers. Let's do the other team in LA. Hey, so the Lakers, it's not going to be a lot of teams that get really bad grades from me. But what I said before was there are going to be some teams who get grades that may either feel harsh or feel too high, and it might not feel that they did much. But considering the situation that they're in, considering the options they have, because I feel like they did their best. So all that being said, I'm going to put the Lakers in the D tier. I almost want to put them in the F tier. The only reason I don't put them in the F tier is simply because they got younger. They picked up Thomas Bryant, Lonnie Walker, Juan Toscano Anderson. Are those guys going to be difference makers? Or are those guys going to be different, game changers for them? Probably not. Let's be real. But there's some okay to solid role players who just happen to be younger than the old guys they was running around with. And to me, that's an upgrade. Just the fact that you lowered your average age from like 50 to probably like 30. You are going to miss. Now let's keep it a bean. You will miss. Who did they get rid of? Monk. Yeah, they lost Monk to. I have it written down. I can't find it. Yeah, they did lose some pieces, but they got younger. There's still no shooting there. They didn't necessarily fix that issue. If the Lakers somehow pull off a miracle trade and we look up and somehow Kyrie's there, or somehow Buddy Hield is there and Miles Turner is there, I've been hearing some rumors. So if they make a move and somehow move Russ to get a legit complimentary piece, they could move up. But as of right now, I'm leaving them at a D. Next up, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. So first off, they're really going to miss Kyle Anderson and DeAnthony Melton. Shout out to my Sixers for grabbing him for a pick, and Danny Green, who's probably not going to play this year due to his ACL injury. They're going to miss both of those guys. I think they didn't really do much else. I'm trying to remember. I don't have anything else written down for them. Am I missing something for the Memphis Grizzlies outside of losing Kyle Anderson and DeAnthony Melton? They did sign John Morant to a long-term extension, which is solid, I guess. You know what I mean? You got to keep your superstar, which is nice. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going to be playing for the beginning of the season, so you're really going to miss Kyle Anderson. For me, I had him written down the Grizzlies as a C/D. Imagine the Grizzlies as a C-. I'm going to put them in the C tier. Imagine them as a C-. And the only reason they're in the C tier is because they signed their superstar, John Morant. John Morant's happy in Memphis. You sign him to a large deal. You're going to keep him there for a long time. In theory, you get a C. If John Morant didn't sign this offseason, you'd probably be in the D tier with the Lakers. The Minnesota Timberwolves. This one was funny. Thank you. The Lakers lost Malik Monk to the Kings. I knew he went somewhere, but I couldn't remember exactly where. The Minnesota Timberwolves is an iffy one for me. I've gone on record saying before that I'm unsure about Karl-Anthony Towns playing the 4, Rudy playing the 5. After looking back on it, I can see some instances where it could work. A couple of things. Just random off the top of my head. Cat can't be the screener in the pick and roll. Most of their pick and roll ball screens have to be with Rudy because Cat can shoot the 3 ball and keep his defender out the paint when the ball handler and the roll man are trying to go to the basket. If Cat's the one setting the screen, if I'm guarding Rudy Gobert, I'm just going to camp in the paint and blow up the pick and roll action. Defensively, yes, this will make this team probably a top 10 defense. Rudy Gobert, it's funny. I say this all the time about Trae Young. Trae Young is a walking top 10 offense. Rudy is a walking top 10 defense. So their defense is definitely going to take a step up. He's one of the best screeners in the league. So it's going to see a lot of pick and rolls between D'Lo and Rudy, a lot of pick and rolls between Anthony Edwards and Rudy. I don't think it was an overpay. I know a lot of people said, see, look, Gaming, you took the words right out of my mouth. I know a lot of people feel like it was an overpay. Me personally, I do not feel like the Rudy Gobert trade was an overpay. Rudy Gobert is the best paint defender in the league, hands down, bar none. And that's with me having, Joel Embiid's my guy. That's what me have, Ben Simmons is a great defender as well back when he used to be on the Sixers. I'm just thinking of really good defenders off the top of my head. But to me, Rudy Gobert is the best paint defender in the league. He's arguably, you can make the argument that he's the best defender in the league. So I think he was worth what they got for him. I don't know if I just loved the fact that it's on the Timberwolves, but they believe in it. They went out, they made a move that they believe can make them better. And so for that, I'm actually going to put the Timberwolves in the B. I'm going to give them a B. It was a risky move, but they went out and actually, I'm going to give the Timberwolves, I'm going to give them a B. I was getting a little happy to get my first A out. I'm going to give them a B. I feel like it's a risky move, but I also see the vision. And because of that, they get a B for me. Hey, G, what's good? KD did Sixers, Seth Curry for Maxey? No. What are you talking about? Is this what you just sent? KD the Sixers and Seth Curry for KD and Seth for Maxey, Tobias, Matisse, 2 future first rounders, and 2 seconds. Call me crazy. I don't want Kevin Durant on the Sixers, y'all. Call me crazy. I don't. Maxey, Matisse, Thibault. That would probably slide Anthony Melton to the starting spot. That would slide. KD would take Tobias' spot. Anthony Melton's gonna have to start. Who's gonna be our starting small forward? We're gonna start Furkan? Yikes. Anyway, my fault. We're gonna get to the Sixers in a second, Jay. We just finished up the Timberwolves. Let's do the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans, their biggest thing for me, I call it bias, call it hype off of Zion. I'm just automatically putting the Pelicans into the B tier, mainly because they finally PJ Tucker as the starting 4. KD would play the 3. Okay. Dang, that bench depth would be trash. We'd be back to Furkan and Niang doing a lot off the bench. My fault. I'm gonna put the New Orleans Pelicans into the B tier. I'm gonna give them a B off the strength solely of locking in Zion, not only locking him in, but locking him into a deal that has contingencies that protects him and the team. If you don't know, the back half of his contract has like stipulations where he has to play a certain amount of games. There's stipulations on his weight. There are things put in place that protects him as the player. He's still gonna get his bag. He's still gonna get paid, but also protects the team, because if he doesn't, play due to injury or doesn't stay on his weight, yada yada, they can save some of that money. I think it's a great deal. And from an organizational standpoint, there was so much turmoil swirling around. Does Zion want to be here? Does Zion want to go to New York? Does Zion like New Orleans? Does he even like his players? There was rumors going around that he hadn't even reached out to CJ when CJ first got there. There was just a lot going on for the Pelicans this summer in terms of their future with Zion. Locking him up is a great deal. Yes, they needed those stipulations. If they didn't have those stipulations and just said, hey, here's a max, I probably wouldn't have them as high. But because they did their due diligence of getting those stipulations, and also shout out to him for realizing, like, yeah, I get it. I understand the stipulations. I ain't really been here. I look crazy big. I understand it. Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm going to give them a C. They drafted Chet. That's what I wanted them to do. They didn't really do much else. Their biggest other piece was, I'm just really curious to see what they do with these future first round picks. They have 1,000 first round picks. They drafted Chet. I was happy to see they drafted Chet. He was the guy I wanted them to pick up. Other than that, I'm just looking forward to their future. The Phoenix Suns. This is a team I'm low on. Now, I wanted them to sign DeAndre Ayton. I did. I said before that I thought they were going to I'm gonna get to the Jazz right after I do these Suns, since I already started his Suns. Connie. I couldn't be a teacher because I can't read people's names. The Phoenix Suns, I wanted them to sign DeAndre Ayton. I've been wanting them to sign DeAndre Ayton. I said in the beginning of the offseason, like, don't fumble this. I think you're going to regret it. I'm high on Ayton. I could be proven wrong in his future, but I am high on Ayton. However, they let it go so long that the Pacers then offered him a contract. The Pacers offer him a contract. The Suns match it. Now he's going to stay a Phoenix Sun. My whole thought process behind all of this is, one, why did you drag that out so much? Potentially strain the relationship between Ayton and the organization. I'm still very curious to see the type of relationship Ayton has with Monty Williams based on how that season ended. Just seemed there was a lot of tension there. I really wanted them to find some sort of, I guess I'll say point guard insurance or a backup for Chris Paul, because in a perfect world, I would love to see Chris Paul load manage this upcoming season, so he's ready for the playoffs. I think when healthy, Chris Paul can still be a top 10 point guard in the league. We just saw that last year. He led the league in assists per game. Like, he's still an elite playmaking point guard, and honestly, still a great mid-range shooter, can get to his spots, can hit knockdown shots, and was one of the best clutch performers in the league last year. Fell apart in the playoffs, don't get me wrong there. I think part of that can be, too, the fact that he is getting old. I need Ayton to be an all-star. He's now the fourth highest paid center in the league. Take that stat with a grain of salt. While, yes, he is the fourth highest paid center, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure what those numbers exactly look like. I just know he's the fourth highest paid off the top of my head. All that being said, since they didn't find any real backup point guard situation, they didn't necessarily increase some perimeter defense. I know they still have Mikal Bridges, but I would have liked them to, whatever that backup guard situation looked like that they got, would have also been a defender. I know they still have Cam Johnson. I think Cam Johnson has a bright future, but I feel like he regressed this past season compared to the year they went to the finals. The year they went to the finals, Cam Johnson was actually looking really nice, and I expected him to take another step forward this year. He didn't. Because of all the drama, yes, I know they signed DeAndre Ayton. They just took too long for me. I'm actually going to put the Phoenix Suns in a D tier with the Lakers. It sounds crazy, but considering all the options in my mind they had and what they actually did, they didn't do much. All right, let me get to the Utah Jazz for my guy. Let me scroll down to these notes. I'm going to go out of order real quick. So for Utah Jazz, I liked the Rudy Gobert trade for them. The writing was on the wall that they had to break this up. I honestly was surprised they didn't do it at the end of last season, but you do it this year. You get a bunch of picks back for Rudy. You actually get some players as well. They now have, I actually had to look it up to see who their new center was going to be, because I was like, well, who's starting for Rudy? They drafted a rookie. I looked him up. I cannot remember his name. They drafted, who did Utah Jazz draft? Walker Kessler, thank you. So he's big. They're projecting he's gonna be able to play some solid defense. To be honest, that's about as far as my knowledge goes for Walker Kessler. I'm very curious. I don't think Utah's offseason is over. I'll say that. I'm going to give them right now, off the strength of the Rudy trade alone and how much they got back for Rudy, I'm actually going to put them in the B tier. I think they did a really good job. Even if they run next season back as is, I think they'll at least be exciting to watch just solely off the strength of Donovan Mitchell. If they did do that, I think they'd probably be closer to like a play-in team, to keep it a beam with you. I don't think they're done. I think we'll see Donovan Mitchell move at least before the trade deadline this season. The way Hawks' eyes open with the Jets. I have a very expressive face. We do Trailblazers already? We just did Suns. We did the Jazz. All right, let's get into these Trailblazers real quick. Trailblazers, I'm actually going to give a B. No. Did I read that right? Yeah, I did read it right. I feel like I read it out of order. I didn't. That's not how I wanted to do it. But hear me out. So the Portland Trailblazers did a couple of things. Immediately, the move for Jeremy Grant I thought was really, really good. I felt for, and I think we were talking about them a little bit. I thought for a long time that they needed to find a better wing, a guy who can play defense but also give you something on offense. The days when they had Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless, they had some of that wing defense but not so much scoring. I think Jeremy Grant gives you a little bit of both. I think the signing of Anthony Simons was really good. You retain him. Now he has a contract. You know he's going to be there for a little while. You extend Damian Lillard as well, which is great. Damian Lillard, from all accounts that I can tell, has shown that, hey, regardless of what the internet's saying about me, regardless of what a lot of people will consider logic, I want to be a Portland Trailblazers. I want to be here. He's going to go down as probably the best Portland Trailblazer of all time. He's going to go down as a fan favorite. He's going to go down as a Portland Trailblazers legend, and I think he's okay with that. All that being said, to keep it a bean, I don't know how much better this version of this team is going to be than like 2 years ago, because I'm very curious to see how Anthony Simons and Dame play together. I loved Anthony last year, but a lot of what I loved about him was him having the ball in his hands. I'm very curious to see if he can kind of sort of transition a little bit more to the CJ McCollum role with still having the ball in his hands at times. Clyde Drexler is still there, but if Dame stays there all his career, I just think there's a world where Clyde and Dame is going to be held in the same regard as Clyde. I'll say it that way. But my point about Anthony Simons is I'm very curious to see if he can move a little bit more into that CJ McCollum role, play a little bit more off ball, do a lot of running of the second unit. I remember there were a lot of times when CJ would run that second unit of that offense. I'm just curious to see how the two of them work together. Defensively on the perimeter, they're probably going to be trash because Dame and Anthony is no better at defense than Dame and CJ. And Jeremy Grant can't guard everybody. I like Larry Nance, though. But all that being said, I will give them a B for retaining their players and acquiring Jeremy Grant, something I think was a great fit for them. Honestly, I was hoping they were also going to try to steal DeAndre Ayton from the Phoenix Suns at one point, but that didn't work out. Nah, I'm not getting the DeJounte Murray line on my hair. That's crazy. That'd be dope, but nah, that ain't me. Next up, we're going to talk about the Sacramento Kings. So the Kings actually like what they did. So they got some shooting, adding Malik Monk. They added Kevin Huerter. I think that's going to be huge for them. I actually like Keegan Murray for them. Everybody in the Discord has been telling me about him. He's one of the few rookies I've actually gone on my way, watched some highlights from Summer League, looked up what he was like in college. I think he's going to be another great shooter for them. And all this shooting is going to give De'Aaron Fox so much room to work. The Fox and the Ox pick and roll is going to be crazy between De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. I think it's going to be solid for them. I'm expecting the Kings to make a playing team. Kings, please do not let me down. Please do not let me down. But I'm going to give you guys a B. As you can see so far, I don't have any. Do I have A-tier teams? Who did I mark as A? Let me just see my lists, because I'm just realizing I'm coming to the end of the Western Conference. I don't have anybody in the A yet. Okay, I have like maybe 1 or 2 A's. A's are hard to give out. A's are hard to give out. Y'all gonna hate one of my A's. I'm gonna let you know right now. So the Sacramento Kings, you get a B. The San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio Spurs is one of those teams. Remember when I said a team did stuff that solidifies or gives them a direction for the future? The Spurs' direction was, hey, it's tank season. We got all these picks for DeJounte Murray, and they actually still have a couple of trade pieces I think they can move on from and some teams might be interested in. But I liked it. They didn't go crazy. They got some solid picks. DeJounte Murray was really their only move. Nice little C-tier action. Rager, a producer, you make beats? Thanks for pulling up to the stream, though. Yes, sir. Yeah, the Spurs is blowing it up. Spurs, and that's okay. The Spurs spent the last basically 2 decades between the Tim Duncan era, the David Robinson era, the Tim Duncan era, shifting over to them first couple of years with Kawhi. They spent basically the last 2 decades being a title contender on and off. It's okay to be like, well, it's time to take a step back and let some of these other teams have the, the forefront in the league. We did the Jazz already, and I want to say that's the entire Western Conference. We make trap beats. That's actually kind of fire. I ain't gonna hold you. All right, next question we're gonna pull from the Discord real quick. Let me pull it up. We talked about the job. We talked about Wiseman. One of the questions actually was about Portland, and we kind of answered it in there. This is that question I actually like, and I'm gonna do full face for this. This is from Nav in the Discord. Is D'Angelo Russell overrated? And I don't think D'Angelo Russell is overrated. I actually think he's properly rated. I think if you, at least to me, I think he's properly rated from what I can see of him. I don't see a lot of people claiming that he's all-star caliber anymore. I don't see a lot of people even claiming he's like one of the elite point guards in the league. I think he's a really, really good starter. I think D'Lo is like a 13 to 17 point guard in the league, probably. And I think that's fairly accurate. I like him a lot, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Minnesota Timberwolves try to find a way to move him to potentially find a cheaper point guard to do something similar, but in terms of, or maybe even a more defensive minded point guard, because they have the scoring between Anthony Edwards and Cat. Wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think he's overrated. I think maybe a couple of years ago, the answer potentially would have been yes, especially maybe when he first got to Minnesota. But I think after, I want to say this was his second year in Minnesota, people have got a better understanding of what D'Lo brings to the table, and I think he's properly rated. John, what's good? That's my boy. Angry Nets fan here. When is the trade for KD to the Sixers happening? I may have missed it, but say it again. F Miami. Happy birthday. Nah, I've said it before. I don't. G talked about it before in here. I don't want that trade to happen. Like, we'll get right into it. We'll talk about the Eastern Conference. And like I said, you're gonna hate my Eastern Conference list because one of the first teams I'm giving an age on to is my 76ers, and we'll talk about it. As is right now. Oh, you sent something into the server too? All right, Rage, I'm gonna check it out for next question I pull. I'm gonna check the server itself because I had some screenshots, but they're all gone. Like I used them all up. So I've seen it. I'll use it next. Dang, Nav, thanks for pulling up the stream. We definitely just answered your question about D'Lo too. That's crazy. So the first A-tier team, getting back to the grades and getting back to the tier list. The first A-tier team, we got the Eastern Conference left. I'm putting my 76ers in A-tier. Now, before y'all go crazy and call it the homer pick, hear me out. Hear me out. We did a lot low-key this offseason. So first things first, we traded Danny Green and I want a late first pick for D'Anthony Melton, someone who I think is going to actually be really, really good for us. A really good 3-and-D guy. High key, he's going to eat up a lot of Furkan Korkmaz's minutes, and I can't be happier. They shoot around the same efficiency, and he's a way better defender. Can do a little bit more with the ball in his hands as well. You convinced somehow James Harden to sign a 1+1 deal, basically second year as a player option, but at a lesser amount of money. That way we can bring in PJ Tucker, someone who I know a lot of people call him old. I know a lot of people say they don't necessarily believe that the second half of this deal will be worth it. And I agree. The last year might be a little shaky, but you're paying him that money for this year and potentially next year. I've said it once, I'll say it again. We just saw PJ Tucker guard Trae Young in the full court and do a really good job at it. We can get that to the Sixers. He can go ahead and eat up a lot of George Niang minutes. I like Niang as well, but there was a lot of times when I was watching the Sixers last year when those two guys I just felt were on the court for way too long because they don't bring anything other than shooting. In terms of PJ, in terms of Melton, they can bring shooting and defense, a little bit more versatility. I like the pick for us. I feel like DeJounte Murray wanted to be Kawhi, Tim Duncan, Dave Robinson role. I mean, that's not. I like that. Low Gaming said, I agree. 76 had an amazing offseason. Who cares if Harden got paid under the table? Exactly. Who cares? I don't. The other next team on the Eastern Conference list. Let me scroll to the top of my notes. Let's talk about the DeJounte Murray trade, actually. So the Atlanta Hawks get DeJounte Murray. They give up a decent amount of picks for him. I don't hate it. I'm not mad at it. They still have what I would consider a opportunity to get better and trading away Clint Capella. I know a lot of rumors and the rumor mill is swirling around the idea of trading John Collins. Honestly, I like John Collins for the Hawks. I think he's really versatile. I think he has the opportunity to get better as a three-point shooter and be able to space the floor a little bit better for Murray and for Trey. And he can put the ball on the ground himself a little bit. I'm ready for Onyeka Okongwu to start. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for him to start. I think he's got the capability for it. I think you could trade Clint Capella for some more depth. All that being said, off the strength of the DeJounte Murray trade alone, I think you will miss Kevin Huerter, though. You are going to miss that spacing. I've said it before, I'm skeptical to see how it will work on paper, but I like teams making an attempt to get better. And I can see the vision. I just need to see it on the court. I'm going to put them in the B tier. Rage, excellent question. Why are the Warriors C tier? I said we put the Warriors C tier because there wasn't much they can do. Like they had to get rid of Otto Porter Jr. They had to let go of Gary Payton II. They added in Dante DiVincenzo, and I just said his name, but I can't remember the other guy they brought in to try to replace some of that. But we're influencing you. You missed the disclaimer in the beginning. So what I'm going to do, Rage, if you want to, see everything, the whole stream, I'm going to leave up with the channel like we leave up all the streams, just in case somebody want to go back and watch the stream. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and clip up and chop up my thoughts and make a more condensed video of just the grades and repost it. So you can go back and watch the thought processes and stuff like that, breaking it down. But yes, the Warriors to me had just an okay offseason. The Kings had a good offseason. That's why you see the B and that's why you see the C. Next team up on the list, we just did Atlanta Hawks. The next team up on the list is the only other team. No, I'm looking. Something might surprise me, might change my mind as we go. But the only other team that got an A for me are the Boston Celtics. Listen, they already had an A from just adding Malcolm Brogdon. I know there's a lot of ifs on Malcolm Brogdon. There's a lot of injury concerns from Pacers fans. Yo, Rage is really throwing me off with this with his reactions to the list. I know there's a lot of concerns from the Pacers fans about Malcolm Brogdon. I know there's concerns about his injury history. The beautiful thing about him joining the Boston Celtics is they still have Derek White. They still have Marcus Smart. They don't need Brogdon to play 82 games at starting caliber. They just need Brogdon mainly for the playoffs, to help maybe relieve some of that pressure from Derek White, and sometimes when you might not want him on the floor as much. Brogdon is a better playmaker in my mind. Brogdon is a better player in my mind as well. And if you can have him being a backup, I think that's huge. I also see a world where he's going to be a big part of their closing lineups. I really think that was a big pickup for them, just off the strength of adding him alone. Then you go ahead and add Danilo Gallinari, who's someone who, if he had to be a starter from somewhere, or if he was entering potentially a starting role or even a six-man role, I'd be like, I mean, how much is Danilo Gallinari going to do? But in the Boston Celtics, he's going to be like your seventh, eighth man off the bench. If your seventh, eighth man off the bench is Danilo Gallinari, you got a really, really solid roster. I like that. I like what they did a lot. They didn't really lose any of their core pieces, and they somehow got better. That's exactly what you want to do if you're a team that just made the playoffs. That just made the NBA Finals. Something that, I'll just go ahead and hop right into it. A team who I think didn't do that, a team who I think did not get any better at all, the Miami Heat. I'm putting the Miami Heat in the D tier. You lose PJ Tucker and you don't do anything else. Look, Miami, I get it. You are a good team. You got Jimmy Butler. He's one of the best players in the league, especially when it comes down to the playoff time. But when it comes to making your team better, you didn't do anything. Like absolutely nothing. And there's some definite clear holes. Like you brought back Victor Oladipo, someone who I think someone asked that question earlier in the chat. I remember seeing that. I don't remember who it was, so I do apologize. I don't know if he's going to get back to Pacers video. I just watched his interview with Vince Carter that he had the other day where he feels better. He feels like he's calling it his revenge tour, but not necessarily in the sense of like he's angry at the league, but just a sense of like, I'm trying to get back to myself. I'm trying to prove to myself that I am still the player that I can be and show the world that I'm still the player that I can be. But until we see that, basically all the Miami Heat said was, hey, yo, we're going to run it back minus PJ Tucker, the guy who was really impactful for us. And for that, they get a D. Yes. That's also what it is, Rage. I see why you're confused right now. We're grading off-season moves. We're not predicting where these teams are going to be. We're not grading these teams in terms of talent and stuff like that. These are off-season moves. Now I can, if you were going off of like where I see these teams being, I completely understand how you were freaking out. I completely understand, but no, these are just off-season moves. Oh, teams that will be better. Okay, then yeah, I can see why he was looking crazy. Seeing the Blazers, seeing the Jazz, seeing the Kings, and seeing the Warriors and the Suns so low. That's funny. Oh. Next team up on the list is actually probably one of the hardest ones to do. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. So in terms of the drama of their offseason, it's probably been an F. Kevin Durant wants out. Kyrie wants out. Then Kyrie's like, I'll come back. Then Kevin Durant says, oh, well, I'll stay if you get rid of Sean Marks and Steve Nash. Whole lot of craziness happening there. However, if you look at just what they did in terms of trying to make the team better, I think they did actually a solid job. Adding Royce O'Neal, a solid 3-and-D guy. Signing TJ Warren, a solid gamble. The contract wasn't crazy. I don't expect him to be bubble TJ, but I don't expect him to be absolute trash. I don't expect him to be absolute trash either. I know he's going to be a guy who can, at the very least, knock down shots, create a little bit for himself and others, maybe on times when, if he finds himself on the court without Kyrie or KD. Now, all that being said, if we live in a world where starting next season, we're still on the same team, right? That they're all still there. Little game, you took the words out of my mouth. I'm not going to put them too high. If they didn't have the drama, they probably would low-key be like a B tier. I really do like the Royce O'Neal and TJ Warren signing. And I've said before, running it back is the best option for the Nets because you think about the fact that Ben Simmons didn't play. You're going to add Joe Harris back. I think Ben would be a really good addition to this team. We all know Joe Harris got a strap. Pause. He's a good shooter. I'm going to put him in the C tier. The drama makes it crazy, but as of right now, both those guys are still on the team. Maybe they do fire Steve Nash, keep Sean Marks, fire Steve Nash, get a new head coach, keep it a bean, regardless of even if KD didn't make that request of firing those guys. I thought Steve Nash should have been fired anyway, so I'm not mad at that. I'm cool with the Nets being a C tier if they come back as is. Ooh, okay, another tough team to talk about. Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets have more off-court issues than on-court issues with the whole Miles Bridges situation. Keep it a bean, I don't expect to see him in an NBA jersey ever again. Like, for real, I don't think we'll ever see him play in an NBA jersey again. That put them in a real sticky situation. But also, I think they could have at least tried to do something else. They didn't. They just kind of held their hands and said, well, it is what it is. So because of that, I'm putting the Charlotte Hornets in the D tier. They didn't try anything else. I get it with some very unfortunate, unforeseen circumstances. Considering I think Miles Bridges would have continued to grow and be a great piece for your team when you would have been on the right path of a young developing team. You didn't do anything. I just don't like this for you guys. Let's see what they're talking about real quick. Rage, I want to say the Bucks are coming up soon. Hornets are signing Jordan. I say don't do anything. KD isn't sitting out. He'll get over it. He'll realize they could win if healthy. I mean, yeah, Miles, he's a rapper now. Low gaming, I'm with you on that. I said from the beginning, I don't think they're going to do anything. Even when he first called for the trade, I said the best bet was for him to stay there. I still believe that. So the Chicago Bulls, they keep Zach LaVine. That's huge for them. I think there was some real concern that Zach LaVine was really going to look elsewhere in the free agency market and potentially decide to go somewhere else. I think once DeJounte Murray moved away from the Spurs and got traded, I think he realized, there's not really many other opportunities out there for me. I think there was some real thoughts of him potentially joining DeJounte Murray, and with the Spurs, would have been very weird to see, to be honest with you. But at the strength alone of signing him, you added Gordon Dragic, really solid backup point guard in my mind. You add Andre Drummond. Honestly, probably the best backup center you can have in the NBA. He's like a sub-tier starting caliber center, like a average to slightly below average starting caliber center. So if you can get him coming off your bench, I think that's a really, really good pickup. He was great for the Sixers off the bench. He was really good for the Nets. I think he's going to be great for them. The Bulls are solid. I'm giving the Bulls a B. The Cleveland Cavaliers. You get the Darius Garland extension. Absolute no-brainer. Completely understand it. You bring back Ricky Rubio in free agency after he was traded for the Caris LeVert deal. The biggest what-if for them right now is still the Colin Sexton situation. But in terms of this offseason going into the next season, they're still in a really good position because they have an offer out for Colin Sexton. He is a restricted free agent. The qualifying out, if no one else gives him an offer and he doesn't accept the extension they offered, he's going to remain there at least next season on like $7 million for the qualifying offer. So he's going to be a Cavalier if no one else offers him anything. And at this rate, it doesn't look like anybody else is going to offer him anything. So because the fact that he's at least going to be there the next season, unless they trade him midway through the season, you extend Darius Garland, you bring back Ricky Rubio. I think you made some solid moves. I'm going to give the Cavaliers a B. Because I think there's a lot to be said about sometimes doing. I'm actually going to give them a C. There's something to be said about keeping Darius Garland, bringing back Ricky Rubio, but the fact that you haven't facilitated a sign and trade. If you don't want Colin Sexton, I think a sign and trade is your best bet. It hasn't happened yet, so that's why I'm sliding him to the C tier. The Detroit Pistons. I like what they did here. They used that draft capital they got for Jeremy Grant to get their guy Jalen Dorian. Now they have Jalen Dorian and Jaden Ivey. That's going to be a wonderful time for me try to remember the difference between those two players. I'm talking about the Pistons this upcoming season. I forget how much they signed Marvin Bagley for, but I like what they did with their trade assets. I like what they did in the draft. So I'm going to give them a B solely off the strength of what they did in the draft. Moving in the right direction. Like I said, some of these teams who I said this at the beginning, there's going to be some teams that are higher up based on the fact that they did the right moves that I think go in the right direction. Not necessarily moves that make them a whole lot better or worse. I like the prospects of Ivy and Dorian. Ugh, I got to figure out how to pronounce his name. But I like what they did. So I'm going to leave him in the B tier. It's like a B minus. I'll give him that. Miami Heat, we did already. Indiana Pacers. So I didn't like the Brogdon trade for them. The Celtics, I love the Brogdon trade. For them, I hated the Brogdon trade. I feel like the kid got a little bit more, but maybe that's all he was worth considering the concerns for his health. The fact that Miles Turner is still here, the fact that Buddy Hield is still here, it's giving turmoil to me because they have made it clear that they don't want Miles on their team. They've almost made it clear that they don't want Buddy on their team, but it doesn't feel like they've made any real effort and real steps to moving those guys. But because of that, to be honest with you, Indiana Pacers is a D for me. I still like the team. I still like Tyrese Halliburton. I think they are still going to be a solid young team to see. But in terms of offseason moves, I don't think they did anything great considering at least my impression of their goals. Yeah, I didn't think Bagley got a bag. Marvin Bagley got a bag. For some reason, I wrote that down, but after I looked back at it, nah. Yeah, they lost TJ Warren and Brogdon. I forgot about the TJ Warren part, even though we just talked about him. Miami Heat, we already put. The Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, so the Bucks, on paper, when you first thinking about it, initially I was like, I mean, the Bucks are getting old. They didn't really do much. I think they're banking on their people getting back and their people getting better. The biggest and most important thing I think the Bucks did, though, that I really do like, that's going to stop them from being in the D tier, is they re-signed Bobby Portis, and I think that's huge for them. They re-signed him on a really friendly deal. I honestly think he probably could have got paid from a couple of teams out there that wanted or at least to give a chance to have him as their starting caliber center. I love Bobby Portis' game. I think he's great for this team. I think he can seamlessly step into replacing Brook Lopez as Brook Lopez continues to get older. Especially if Bobby Portis continues to grow defensively. I think offensively, he has a nice little bag on him. In terms of shooting, I've seen a couple of turnaround jumpers. Nothing crazy, but it's a nice little bag on him. Because they kept Bobby Portis on what I consider a team-friendly deal, I'm actually going to put them in the C, give him a C, because I think that was huge for them. I really do think that was huge for them. The New York Knicks, let's talk about it. We was talking about it earlier and saying, some of you guys were saying you don't believe Jalen Brunson is really going to move the needle for them much. And I'll be honest, it probably won't move the needle a whole lot, right? But you're getting a guy who's coming off a career year. You're getting a guy who wants to play in New York, who fits the timeline of guys like RJ Barrett, guys like Julius Randle, Obi Toppin, Mitchell Robinson. Like, it's a nice core you're building here. I think a lot of it depends on, in terms of their success this upcoming season. Yes, Jalen Brunson is going to contribute and be a really good big part of that. But I think the biggest factor for the Knicks are going to be, what version of Julius Randle are we going to get? We're going to get MIP Julius Randle, or are we going to get last year's Julius Randle? If we get last year's Julius Randle, it's not going to really make that much of a difference to keep it a bean. If we get MIP Julius Randle, it'll be a really good season. I'm looking forward to seeing the growth of RJ Barrett. All that being said, I like the Jalen Brunson signing. I think it moves them in the right direction. I'm going to give them a B for it. Also because they stole a great player from another really, really great team. That was someone who was probably highly sought after, low-key. I did not mention the Heat getting Jovic. I like Jovic. But I'm not going to put them at the C tier rage, because I think because of how the Heat play and because the Heat are an older team that wants to win games, I can see a world where if Jovic doesn't start the season out like hot, he doesn't get that much burn in the second half of the season, and we really don't see him that much. It's a weird theory, but that's my theory. Connie says, imagine Bron in dreads or MJ in dreads. That would be weird. That would be very, very weird. The Orlando Magic. So Paolo Banchero's on the team. I think that was a good pickup for them. I really like the fact that they brought back Mo Bamba and Gary Harris. I was actually very surprised that they brought back Mo Bamba. I just knew, based on, I don't know, the fact that they already have Jonathan Isaac over there, the fact that they have, basically the fact that they have Jonathan Isaac over there already, and it just didn't look like Mo Bamba was going to be coming back, so I'm happy to see him there. I'd give Magic they went with their guy. And I like that, because a lot of people were saying, was it Ivy? Jaden Ivy? Whoever the third pick is. This is how bad I am with these rookies. I got to learn these rookies' names before the season starts. Whoever the third pick was, I want to say it was Jaden Ivy. I know there was a lot of people going back and forth of who was going to be the number one pick. The Magic said, hey, Paolo's our guy. We're going to go with him. I like it. He fits their system. And I'm excited to see, like Rage just said, I'm excited to see some Hawks versus Magic games now, because the DeJounte Murray versus Paolo situation is going to be crazy. So I'm actually going to move the Magic to the C tier. They got their guy in the draft. They retained some players. I think it was a solid offseason for them. Similar to how I got to put if I put in the Rockets here and I'm putting the Magic here, if I'm putting the Thunder there for drafting Chet, And what they did, I got to put the Magic here for what they did. The reason the Pistons are higher because the Pistons actually made a couple of moves on draft night and ended up with 2 solid guys. Just to give you my thought process. The Toronto Raptors, the Otto Porter Jr. signing was really, really good. I think he just immediately fits into their system. He's another lanky, long wing, shoot a little bit. I thought it was solid. I know they're a potential pick for the Kevin Durant situation. I don't think he's really going to go there. But I like Otto Porter Jr. signing. Nothing crazy here. Seats here for me. Washington Wizards, you brought back Bradley Beal. You brought back your guys. A lot of people thought it was an overpay. Me personally, I thought it made a whole lot of sense. Keep him there. He wants to be there. Pay him. You'll sell some tickets. Sometimes you just got to keep your guys. Seats here. So this is actually the full list. The only A-tier teams we have are the Sixers and the Celtics. To me, so far, this offseason has felt a little quiet, but I think obviously that's because Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were on the trading block, and I think a lot of teams were waiting to see what happens there. If in a world where they get traded before the season is over, before the offseason is over, you might see Donovan Mitchell still get traded. You might see some other teams make some moves once those 2 big domino pieces fall. If there's a world where somehow the Lakers end up with Kyrie Irving or they end up with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, like we said earlier, obviously they're not going to be a D tier. They're definitely going to slide up. If the Miami Heat somehow end up in a world where they get Kevin Durant, obviously they're not going to be in the D tier. They're going to slide up. The Phoenix Suns, at this rate, I don't see them getting Kevin Durant, at least not this offseason. Maybe during the season that trade could happen, but definitely not during the offseason. The Hornets and the Pacers, there's not much you can do to move up for me. I didn't give anybody an F tier. I didn't think anybody had a absolutely horrible offseason. The only way a team probably would have got an F from me is if they made a trade that I thought was completely horrible, or they let a legitimate star just walk away from them and didn't do anything else. Like if it was Jimmy Butler who walked away from the Heat instead of PJ Tucker, they would have gotten an F. Gaming, you said the Bradley Beal sign is bad. See, I disagree. I mean, I get it. I know a lot of people think it's an overpay. But to give some more context on the Wizards and my thought process, I like Kristaps being there. I really, really do. I think, who did they get from in that trade? Monte Morris and the wing. Who's the wing that the Wizards got in the Nuggets trade? The KCP trade. I like the Wizards. That's all I'm saying. All right, let me see what Rage said in the Discord real quick. Yeah, Kuzma, yeah, in terms of just me being high on the Wizards, in terms of just what I like from them, yeah, I think you bring back Beal because you still have at least a team that's going to fight for a low-seeded playoff team. Don't forget Kuzma, yeah. Low Gaming, it's not an overpay, they just ain't. I'm about to pull up the Discord too, Rage. Low Gaming, it's not an overpay, they just ain't contending. Beal deserves a bag. It's just I don't think he should be with the Wizards. So, excellent point. I'm under the belief, and I've said this a couple times, that Bradley Beal, yes, while the Wizards aren't contending, while it would be great to see him on, a contending team. And I mean this with the most respect as possible because it sounds crazy to say, but Bradley Beal to me isn't a guy who needs to win a ring for his legacy. He's not an all-time great. He's an absolutely amazing NBA player for sure. He's an all-star caliber player. But he reminds me a lot of like CJ McCollum. You know what I mean? Like, how many people are really going to remember CJ McCollum and Bradley Beal's legacy 20 years from now? It'd be great if they won a ring, but I don't think Bradley Beal's the type of talent that could be the #1 option on a championship team anyway, especially not today's NBA. So if I'm Bradley, I'm like, I'm just going to get this bag and keep it going. I might have been rambling there for a little bit mainly because I've been thinking about that for a while. since the Bradley Beal signing happened. A lot of people been talking about it. Rage asks, do I think, hot take, Oladipo will return to his old Pacers self? I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. I think Oladipo will be solid. I don't know if he's gonna go back to his old Pacers self. I know he definitely has a want and a desire to play well this season based on some interviews I've listened to of him. Like I said earlier, I listened to Vince Carter interview him earlier this week. It was a really solid interview. I didn't even know Vince Carter had an interview show until I saw a clip, but then I'm like, oh, okay, well, nice. I don't know if he'll go back to Pacers VO. If he does get back to Pacers VO, that'd be absolutely insane and great for the Miami Heat, but I do think he's going to play better than he has. Injuries are hard to bounce back from when you're a player who was as athletic as Victor Oladipo was. His athleticism was a huge part of his game. DeJounte Murray said he don't want to hear that number 1 pick is Apollo on his IG story. I did see that. Yeah, the whole DeJounte Murray thing, like, I didn't really pay attention to much of him off the court when he was with the Spurs. I liked his game a lot, and I'll admit I didn't necessarily tune into every Spurs game. Like, they weren't that exciting to watch, but I knew he was a talent, and I respected his talent. I knew he had he's a really good guard in the league. So maybe this tough guy side of him was always there, and I just necessarily didn't notice it when he was with the Spurs. Mainly he hid it away because I feel like Pop would have been like, hey, yo, what is this? This is not what we do. This is not Spurs basketball. But it just seemed real corny to me, to be honest with you. Hey, little game, I'm happy you had a good time, man. We actually about to probably get out of here in a little bit. We're going to, I know Rage put another take in the Discord, so I'm going to read that real quick. But yeah, I'm happy to hear you had a good time. I always have a good time with the lives. I try to make them interactive, read the chat, but also have like an actual show planned out. That's why we started out with the Pro-Am stuff. Then we did the tier list. Like, I try to have some sort of plan, but also in the mix of that plan, I like to engage with y'all, answer y'all questions, respond to hot takes and stuff like that. Rage in Discord also says, I can see the Heat being contenders if Oladipo does return to his old self. Bam unlocks his offensive game. Hero takes another leap defensively. I like that you pointed out the defense there. And Lowry can return to his somewhat old Raptors self. Heat also have a good young core. And I think you're right here on this, Rage. It is an if. There are a lot of ifs in this, but I think that's also potentially partially why the Heat didn't make that many off-season moves. Kyle Lowry himself has said, once again in another recent interview, I listen to a lot of interviews, guys, that he realized he was a little out of shape and he's trying to get back into shape. I've seen some photos of him. He looks like he's a little bit more in Heat shape. I think a big part of the fact that he didn't look good was because he was overweight. Couldn't play like himself. I do want Tyler Hero to take another step defensively. I don't know if he'll get it, but I would love to see it. In terms of Bam taking another step offensively, for the longest I was on that train as well. I was on the Bam has another leap train. But I was listening to the Ringer NBA show podcast on Spotify, and I don't remember who it was on there, but he was like, he believes there's a world where, Bam is Bam. Bam might just be a 20 a game guy. And that's still really, really good. But I would love a world where Bam's more like a 24, 25. And I know those 4 or 5 points don't necessarily seem like a lot, but I think if you're averaging 24, 25, you're going to have some higher, you're going to have some lower. If you're averaging 20, you're going to have a lot of games where you might only give 16. I think there's a world where Bam could have another offensive step, offensive leap, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to come from scoring. I think Bam's offensive leap would come from him being a better playmaker. I remember seeing that a couple of years ago, him taking on a more of a playmaker role, setting up for some of the other guys, especially in the 2020 finals run year. But last year didn't feel like he was vibing in that playmaking role. That might have been because Kyle Lowry was on the team and they were trying to let Kyle Lowry be more of the playmaker. Maybe they find a way to incorporate Bam a little bit more in playmaking, because I think if that happens, that might unlock a little bit more of a scoring game, because defenders might be worried about the pass and maybe a little bit more hesitant to double him when he does have the ball in the paint, because they may be worried about him passing out to an open shooter. I think some playmaking would really help unlock a little bit more of his game, and I wouldn't be mad at some aggression. But I think that's all we got for today. We've been here about an hour and a half. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me. I'm working on a new concept for a show on the channel. I'm gonna call it Let's Talk Hoops. You know, shout out to the merch and the brand and stuff. Where I'm gonna be very similar to some of you guys might have seen Kenny Beecham, King of the Fourth Quarter, do something similar on his second channel. I've been having this idea for a while that I wanted to do this. I actually had this idea last year, but I didn't feel like I don't know, had the platform for it yet. But now I feel like, you know, we're slowly building a real community here, and I want to give the opportunity or have conversations with other super fans of different teams. So we got a couple of interviews scheduled over the next couple of days. So expect to see those videos probably sometime next week. I think the first one's with a big Suns fan. Shout out to the Suns Geek. Some of you guys actually might know him. He's in the Discord, and he's always in the live chats from time to time. So that's what's new coming to the channel. So I'm excited for it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. It'll just be some conversations between fans talking about some of their favorite teams. These next couple of ones will be more so of an in-depth of what they thought of their offseason, what they think of their season moving forward. So I'm excited for it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully people watch it. All right, let's do a quick Pirtle, because I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to do one at this rate. I'm not going to do one for the night and post it on like TikTok or things. So let's go ahead. Quick Pirtle. All right, who we starting with? Somebody give me a name. When the Embiid was crying versus the Raptors in the conference finals 2008, he looked like he went to the bathroom but didn't find toilet. What? Oh, y'all done got quiet on me? Murray. DeJounte? Lil Gaming was the first name I saw, so we're going to do DeJounte Murray. Eastern Conference, younger than 25. Probably a forward center. Taller than 6'4", not Southeast. My first thought was Tatum. They're both under, Tatum's definitely under 25. Let's try Tatum. So it's actually 24, Atlantic Division. Probably just a forward. Well, no. So a center. 24-year-old center in Atlantic Division. Because he's got to be taller than 6'8". 24-year-old center, Atlantic Division. How old is Mitchell Robinson? Is Mitchell Robinson 24? I feel like Mitchell Robinson could be 24. Let's try it. Because I feel like he'll be forward center. Nice. I like that. Good stuff, guys. Nice. That was a good one. That was an easy one, low key. DeJounte Murray was a good pick. They gave me the age real quick. Went right to Tatum. That was nice. That was a good one. So yeah, guys, thanks for pulling up to the stream. Hope you guys had a good time. I know I did, and I will see you all next week. I'm out. Peace.